Hello and welcome to Publisher Spotlight, where we will present several publishers for you that are diverse and inclusive books for kids and teens from around the world. So let's get started, shall we? First of all, these are the publishers: Nosy Crow, Albatros, Nube Ocho, Pajama Press, Red Comet Press, and Diamond Book Distributors. So we'll be showcasing books from all these publishers in the next few minutes. Contact me, Ellen at publisherspotlight.com, and follow us at Pub Spotlight on all your favorite social media channels. First up, Diamond Book Distributors. So Diamond has long been one of the primary go-to sources for graphic novels in English around the world. And so it's only fitting that we start off with Shepherdess Warriors by Jonathan Garnier and Amélie Fléché, who is, they're both in France, and these are translated from the French for us here in the United States. And the cool thing about them, about this particular title actually, is the fact that this won the prize for the best middle grade graphic novel in the world at the recent Angoulême Graphic Novel Comic Book Festival. This is the big international graphic novel conference, and this is the best one. So there you go. So what makes it so good? Well, this is based on Celtic mythology, which is always a win. And this has strong female protagonists. So in this case, we have a village where all the men went away to fight a war 10 years ago. And did they just sit around and wait for their men to come back? No, they didn't. When they were gone, they decided to form a band of shepherdess warriors to defend their village and also to do the things that the men had done in traditional times. So this follows the story of one girl who really wants to be a shepherdess warrior. It's kind of think Amazons, that's this kind of thing, but with a Celtic sort of flavor to it. And we follow her as she goes through the trials of becoming a shepherdess warrior and then some of her adventures as a shepherdess warrior herself. The art is beautiful, it's very engaging, and also just cool. So great stories, great female protagonists, lots of kids being active and changing the world and saving the world. Good stuff. So hooray from Molly. Next up, we have Chroma. Now, this may be the coolest cover you see today. This is by Lorenza De Felici, and this comes to us from Image Books. So this is a story of a world where color has been banished. It is viewed as dangerous. Does this sound anything like what's happening in the world where some ideas are being viewed as dangerous? I don't know. But everyone lives behind these walls in a completely colorless environment, and there is a strong tower where a monster is kept hidden and released every year. Now, there is a symbolic release of the monster, and then the monster is captured by a group of young men who, that's what they're raised to do, is to capture the monster and to defend their community. So this is happening. The monster is released. And then, I'm not going to tell you anymore, am I? So then the monster is released, and the men capture him. The young men capture it, and then as they're subduing this monster, one of the boys realizes that he sees a very, very blue eye, and inside the monster looks like it's a girl. So he is just haunted by this. So at nighttime, when everybody's asleep, he creeps up to the tower and works his way around the guard and finds the girl who is kept prisoner there. Her father is the lord of the land outside of their walls, and this is the way that they keep her hostage to keep things in check. So he decides to release her, as one does, and they have to defend themselves outside and against giant lizards and all sorts of adventures. But it's a beautiful story, coming of age, science fiction fantasy, and the art is just absolutely glorious. So check out Chroma. Next up from Diamond, we have Clementine. Now, if you haven't seen anything from Tilly Walden in the last few years, you just haven't been paying attention. She is the hottest YA author going, and it makes sense that Robert Kirkman, who started the Walking Dead franchise as a graphic novel many, many, many years ago, selected her to be the person to expand that universe into the YA realm. So Clementine came out a year ago. This is the second volume. Clementine is kind of licking her wounds from all the adventures in the first one, and she's found a safe haven where she is a kind protectress who saves her and helps nurture her back, and then she begins to wonder, is she really as kind as she seems? What else is going on here? So lots of things going on, but as I said, This is the only Robert Kirkman endorsed YA edition in the Walking Dead world. So we got zombies, we have strong female protagonists, and lots of adventure. So, Clementine. Next up, Ava's Demon, Book 1 Reborn. So, the second biggest webcomic Kickstarter in history, up to the point of this being published, is Ava's Demon. And this is by Michelle Foose. She is such an amazing world she's created here. So this is very much a high school story. And it's also a story of a girl who is haunted by this demon who can take over and make her do things she doesn't want to do. And it's just very uncomfortable for her. She doesn't like it. And here's the interesting part. This is a high school that is set in a space station, so it's in outer space. And it becomes clear that something's going to happen to the space station. So she and her demon and the boy she really likes and her best frenemy all escape, and it becomes a kind of a high school science fiction, romance, coming of age, you name it, it's all in here. And it's very, very cool. The art is beautiful, and it is going to keep you turning pages until the very end. So much angst, so much angst. But it also has a very nice spirit about it. So this is what, a lot of high schoolers seem to have hidden demons, don't they? So Ava's very shy, but the demon helps her not be so shy. So The Darkness We Brought Back. This is a group of high schoolers, and they are very disparate from very different backgrounds, different kind of on the pecking order of high school, from very different levels of that pecking order. And they find this door and they go through it. Don't they know you should never go through the door? But they do. And do they find there? Here you can see one of them being bullied, all usual high school stuff. They go through the door, and this is what they bring back. So how are they going to save themselves and save the world? Well, that is just the mystery that's going to be revealed in The Darkness We Brought Back. So, gripping graphic novel. And look at these authors. I bet you know the name Rex Ogle, don't you? He wrote Free Lunch, which won so many awards a few years ago from Norton Young Readers. He's an amazing storyteller, and we're really excited that he's in the graphic novel world as well. So lastly, from Diamond, I have Tolkien Lighting Up the Darkness. So this is graphic nonfiction, and it is about Tolkien and his experiences during World War I, which is when it is believed that many of the ideas for Middle-earth were formed in the backdrop of that very bloody, very brutal war. And so what we see here is what happened in the war, what happened to him, as the ideas start to take shape of what Middle-earth might be like. And it's just amazing. It's just a deep dive into one of the world's favorite authors of really all time. So if you have any Lord of the Rings fans, this is one they're going to want. And the art is fantastic. So that is what I got from Diamond. Now, let's move on to Pajama Press, based in Canada, in Toronto, and they do books really from all over the world. So we love working with them, and they've won lots of major awards. I'm also very excited that they're bringing Friends back. So you may remember Mies van Hout's art. This is a story of the different stages of ship, all told with these incredibly engaging little monsters on these really vivid, bold illustrations by Mies van Hout. So, you meet somebody, you start to play with them. And then, somebody gets their feelings hurt and you ignore. Then what do? You have a fight about it because, you just fight with your new friends, right? And then somebody's going to cry. It's inevitable. And then, of course, in the end, we all have a nice cuddle. So there are several more stages in here, but this gives you an idea of the artwork and just how generally appealing this is. Perfect for story time for that preschool toddlers age range. And it's just, I love to let the little kids tell me the story when I have a book like this. So what do you think is happening on this page? What happened before? What happened after? All those good things. Yeah, just read Megan Dowd Lambert's Sharing Picture Books with Children to learn some techniques there. But you already all know this. So I mentioned Friends, and this is from the creator of The Unforgettable Happy. Guess what? Happy is back. It's a 10th anniversary. Yay! And it is bigger and bolder than ever. So it is a slightly larger size than it was before. And just the intensity of the art and the beautiful 5-color printing process makes these little fish with all their different emotions just leap off the page. And it's just so much fun. So it's social emotional literacy for children. But I remember when this first came out 10 years ago that I would have a lot of high school teachers and librarians want to get this book because for neurodiverse kids who had trouble recognizing some of those emotions, this was a great way into those conversations and to recognizing those things. So that is Happy by Mies van Hout. Now, Bahram Rahman, you probably know that name. He wrote The Library Bus, which was on the Rise list, which took place in Afghanistan. He also wrote The Sky Blue Bench, which was a book that takes place in a refugee camp in Afghanistan and was a Schneider Family Honor book. And this one is, those two took place in Afghanistan. This one is about a new immigrant who is originally from Afghanistan and adapting to the life here in North America and what that is like. Still honoring and remembering his past, and he does miss it desperately. His grandmother helps him to kind of appreciate where he is and learn some of the traditions of where he is now and some of the foods and some of the ideas, one of which is if you see a bluebird, you can make a wish. So what we see here is a lovely intergenerational relationship. Obviously, blackberries don't taste like mulberries, as you can see, sticking out his tongue. And his memories, and then just making his peace with where he is and learning how to grow and be happy, be content where he is. So this is by Rahman, and then Gabrielle Grimard, who did Coco Magic last season, if you remember that book. She's just magical, did the illustrations for this one. So career books, can you ever have enough really good, solid career books? So See It, Dream It, Do It. This is by Colleen Nelson, who is a middle school teacher, and Kathy McIsaac, who is an established nonfiction author. And this looks at 25 people, very diverse people, who have found their dream jobs. So we're very excited about this, and what we have here are different things that people can do, and not only does it describe their dream jobs, but also has tips on how people can get those careers and also spin-off jobs. So here we go. You can see some of the different things. If you're a fitness trainer, you want to be a fitness trainer or coach, or maybe what you really want to be is a therapist. You want to be an occupational therapist or a physical education teacher. So many different things if you want to be a coach. And there's another one. And then here we have a forensic artist. That's a career that kids can have. And here's some different jobs: pathologists, detectives, art therapists. So lots of great ideas for kids. So perfect thing to do if you have kids who are trying to figure out their next thing. And everyone has that unit where you have to come up with what you want to be when you grow up. So this is a perfect resource for that. So The Umbrella House, this is from the author of the Undercover Book List. And it's about an intrepid girl who wants to save her building. It is threatened with demolition. She lives in the Lower East Side in New York City, and this is based on a true story that the author saw in the newspaper when she was living there many, many years ago. But there was a house that had an up and down brownstone that had all these umbrellas hung out the windows, and there were so many interesting stories of people who lived there and the artist collective who had made their home there. And the girl decides to be an activist and to get this place established as a true artist colony, and ends up saving the building. So it's an amazing story of student activism, a child making change in her community by seeing a need and filling it. And also, it's just a really cool story. So there you have it. Next up, Michelle Cutter-Usman, who always brings the magic. This is We the Sea Turtles, a collection of island stories. These are 9 stories from around the world. Michelle Cutter-Usman, you may remember, she's been honored by the Outstanding International Books Committee. She was originally born in Indonesia, now lives in Canada. And these stories look at island magic. And these are islands all over the world. And it's not just the ones you would think about, like Komodo Island is certainly there, but also Manhattan. Yeah, that's an island. Turtle Shell Island is in northern New South Wales, Australia, which is another place that Michelle lived for a while. So in every one of these stories, there is a magical sea turtle who makes an appearance, and there's an underlying theme of being aware of what is happening with the environment and being environmentally conscious. So just a beautiful story, and I don't think there are enough collections of short stories for kids. So I'm glad to see that Michelle is adding to that area because it's needed. Next up, from Albatros. This is a publisher based in the Czech Republic, or Czechia as it's being called these days. And they do a lot of nonfiction. They license books all over the world. They have a huge publishing program. And I'm so excited that they're available here in the United States now. So Shapescapes is a concept book, and it is so much fun. It takes things you would actually find in the real world and looks at them in terms of shapes. And there are lots of books about that, but not on this scale. So sometimes we'll see an orange as representative of a sphere, but how often do you see a roundabout as a representative of a circle in a book? This is the only one I know of like that. And it also has other things inside the circle that also are circles. So very, very cool. The rectangle one just makes me laugh because, you know, a bed is a rectangle, and then you can see all the things that are rectangular on there. We have the vehicles, we have the book, the magazine, the phone, you know, even the pillows are things that are rectangular. So lots of things to discover on every single page. And of course, you got to use a triangle, a pyramid for a triangle, just because, right? I think it's a law, maybe a law. I don't know. Do you think it is? So that is that one. Next up, this is a fiction story about Henry the snail. So Henry is a differently abled snail because he has no slime. And if you know anything about snails, you know that slime is how they're able to stick to the, you know, to perpendicular surfaces. So poor Henry is not able to do those things, but you know, he's not poor Henry because he figures out other things that he can do, and that is okay. So yeah, he can't climb this little beanstalk, but he can also do things like flip himself places. And what does he do when he realizes he has this ability? You can see him climb. Yeah. As he starts a circus, as one does. And you know, a snail circus is really quite the thing for the buggy, creepy, crawly world, and everybody turns up to go see what is happening at the bug circus. So there you have it. So cool, so cool. So this is Henry the Snail, and it is a model for creativity and resilience. And the art is just beautiful, as you can see. Now, this next story is actually true. So Tibbles is a cat that did live in the 19th century, and he was taken with his owner to this little island off the coast of New Zealand, St. Stephen's Island. And while he was there, he discovered this amazing wingless, flightless, you know, bird, and it couldn't really defend itself. And Tibbles ate very well for like in a year. And by the end of that year, the St. Stephen's wren was extinct. So this is a true story, and it is told in a somewhat lighthearted manner, but at the same time makes you think about the impact that we can have. One little cat can actually wipe out entire species. So if that can happen, what other things can happen when more people don't pay attention to what their impact is on the world around them? It just shows you in this really amazing, interesting way about how we impact the environments in which we live and what people did when that happened and what they did not do. So very interesting stuff. How not to kill your plant. So this is a story. This is basically a nonfiction book on how to take care of your plants, and it has so much information in here. Lots of different points of entry for reluctant readers, but any kid who really wants to make things grow is going to find so much to learn from here. And frankly, I learned a lot from this book. So I do not have a green thumb, and it isn't any greener right now, but it maybe not quite be as brown as it was before. So these are all the things you need when you're trying to have an indoor garden, and some of the different plants you could have and what the care of them is like, the care and feeding, when you need to prune them, how you can get more plants from them, you can make them propagate, and so much information. So basics of plant care, it's an encyclopedia of houseplants, and so much more. Also from Albatros, we have famous finds and finders. There are lots of books that look at the wonders of the natural world, of the ancient world, but there aren't that many that really talk about the archaeologists and paleontologists and such who discover them. So that's what this book does, and it looks at 40 different things from around the world, how they were discovered, and then goes into much more information about the person who did it, who found them, and what they found, and how they found it. Fascinating stuff. So much to discover here, and I think that everybody will really learn from this book. I know I did. So it's organized in 5 sections: people and animals, towns and cities, works of art, under the sea, and under the ground. So there you have famous finds and finders searching for the past. Next up, means of transport that almost changed the world. So we often hear about the things that actually happened, the inventions that worked, but what about the ones that didn't work? What you see here is a collection of vehicular invention that didn't quite get off the ground or go forward or any of those things. And it is filled with so many fascinating ideas that maybe we can learn from today. And it just shows the ingenuity of people, and it's okay not to succeed every time, because if you fail at one thing, you may learn something that you can apply to another time and then succeed. But it's okay to fail. I mean, I can't even look at this one without actually getting a little bit dizzy. Kind of tough, but it's fascinating, isn't it? So yes, and this is the coolest one I think in the whole book. So these are things that people try to make happen and they just didn't quite make it. So in great gorgeous art that just really, it's almost sepia tone. It's very, very cool. So next up, our next publisher is Nosy Crow. So a little bit about Nosy Crow. You're thinking, I know about Nosy Crow. They're distributed by Candlewick, aren't they? And you're right, they were until 2019, which is when they stopped being distributed by Candlewick. Candlewick still has all of their books from before that time, but they are relaunching here in the United States this month with a whole new list, and they're now being distributed elsewhere. So you can get them easily, and Nosy Crow always does amazing stuff. And the nice thing is that only a few of the things they did before made it over to the States. Now we're going to see more and more of the cool things that originated in the Nosy Crow list. This is my favorite my favorite read aloud book of the year, and it is my favorite counting book of all time, frankly. How to Count to One. So let's have a little bit of a story time, shall we? Hello, welcome to a fun new counting book. Are you ready to start counting? Let's start with something nice and easy. Do you know what an apple looks like? Good. Simply count how many apples you see. Thank you. I heard you say one. Yes, that's right. Just one. Now what about this? How many sausages do you see? So you see what it did there? Instead of having whales and being incrementally more, you're looking for the one thing that is on that page. So bravo, you're really getting the hang of counting to one, but it's going to get more difficult now. How many flies are in the soup? So you get the idea. So much fun. It can be enjoyed on multiple levels, and I cannot wait to share this at story time. So we see more objects and everything, but you're always looking for the one object. And then by the end, you get the prize. And there are 100 different objects to count in the end that are all the different things that were included on all those different pages. So much fun, so many different ways to enjoy, and that is How to Count to One. So this is a book that bears up to several rereadings, and it includes a Stories Aloud audio, which is something I really want to tell you about, because this is a QR code in the back of the book, and there is a fully produced audiobook for each one of their narratives. They were at my computer, narrative books. Hope everyone did not get dizzy with that. And next up, I'm Going to Be a Princess, a story about inspirational Black women and girls. So this, yes, we always celebrate Black women in history during Black History Month. We look at it during Women's History Month, but you know what? It doesn't have to be just that time of year, right? So here we go. This is a little girl who wants to be like Annie Easley, who we learned about in Hidden Figures. She was just an early computer programmer, and she helped make it possible for us to get to the moon. She learns about Princess Amina, who was a warrior princess from Africa, the Zazu Kingdom in West Africa from 500 years ago. I'd never heard of her before. It's amazing information. But this is something that would work really well for a read-aloud situation, but also presents really good, solid nonfiction. So that is I'm Going to Be a Princess, a story about inspirational Black women and girls by Stephanie Taylor, illustrated by Jade Orlando. So it's a book that is worthy of the tiara, I think. So yes, let's be a princess. Next up, who enjoys a funny poem? I know I do. And this is an anthology of 365 poems that can be read each day of the year. You don't have to read them that way, but why wouldn't you? I know a lot of schools will start the day with a poem. You could start it with a class. You can use it as a thing, a palate cleanser between subjects. But I think that wouldn't it be fun to do story time? Start with a poem every time you do story time for certain age ranges. It could be a great way to really get across the beauty and the fun of poetry, because poetry can be so much fun. And this has creators that you would know, John Agard, Ogden Nash, Langston Hughes, Linda Sue Park. So some amazing people. And, this is one I think you might enjoy. Don't go into the library. The library is dangerous. Don't go in. If you do, you know what will happen. It's like a pet store or a bakery. Every single time you come out of there holding something in your arms. Those novels with their big eyes and those no-nonsense all-muscle greyhounds and Dobermans, all nonfiction and business, cuddly when they're young, but then the first page is turned. The donut scent of it all, knowledge. The aroma of coffee being made, in all those books something for everyone, the deli offerings of civilization itself. The library is the book of books. It's concrete and wood and glass covers, keeping within them the very big, very long story of everything. The library is dangerous, full of answers. If you go inside, you may not come out the same person who went in. And that's by Albatros. So don't go into the library. And that's A Whale of a Time, a funny poem for every day of the year, selected by Lou Peacock and illustrated by Matt Hunt, who I think you'll agree did a beautiful job with this. So much fun. Granny came here on the Empire Windrush. I've never heard this story before. This month is the 75th anniversary of the Windrush arriving in the UK, and this is one of the largest migrations in the history of the UK, and it was people coming from the West Indies, and many of them came on this ship. So this story is told in the framework of a little girl who's given an assignment to come as a person in history for school. And she feels like all the good ones have been taken. So she's talking to her granny about it, and she makes some suggestions. And, that's okay, but somebody already has that person. And then Granny starts telling her about her own story, about how she came over when she was a young woman and what she brought with her. And it wasn't very much, but she was able to make so much from that. And so then when she has to decide who she's going to be for the pageant, well, she comes as her grandmother. So it's a beautiful intergenerational story about honoring your ancestors and their experiences and telling their story for a new generation, which is a beautiful thing. So this author is an MBE. She's won so many different awards, and I love this illustrator. She's fairly new, and her name is Camille Sucre, and it's just gorgeous art that I think she's going to have on her way to a very nice career. Next up, we have transported. I promised you more transportation things, right? So 50 vehicles that actually did change the world. These are not the ones that almost did, but these ones actually did. And let's learn more about them, shall we? So here is the table of contents with all the information about the ones we're going to see. And gorgeous illustrations, really interesting. Perfect for those kids who grew up wanting all the different truck books, all the different vehicle books, all the construction books. And here they can learn the next level of information. So how wagons came to be, the Seaborne battering ram, it's so darn cool. So many amazing things. And I know that there are certain kids that are just going to think this is the best book ever. And then we have a history of the world in 25 cities. So these are the different cities, and it starts with Jericho and ends with Tokyo. And you learn about the history of those cities through maps. So it is a map of how that city would have looked at a certain time, and then what are the different ways that people, how did they live? What do they live in? How did they get food and water? How did they defend themselves? All this information is provided on each one of these really detailed spreads that is also really beautiful to look at. So lots of great information. Yeah. So by Tracy Turney, Andrew Donkin, illustrated by Libby Vanderpolik. So we're very Plogue. Yes. Gorgeous guide to 25 cities, and here you can see some of the cities included: Jericho, Memphis, Athens, Yunjong, Rome, Constantinople, Baghdad, etc., New York City, Berlin, San Francisco, and Tokyo. So yes, throughout history, around the world. And next up, so I have a secret to tell you. Do you remember that really beautiful Her Story book that came out from Simon & Schuster a few years ago? Well, that started life as a Nosy Crow book. It was actually licensed to them. So I think you can tell that when you look at Goddess. This is a big, beautiful, oversized, gorgeous book with so much fascinating information. And it is very much from that same tradition. Here you can see how it's organized: ruling and guiding, new life, war and death, love and wisdom, animals and nature. And then every page is a different female goddess from around the world, and you learn information about her and how what kinds of power she had, and why people revered her. So it's fascinating. I learned a lot from this book, and I'm sure that anybody would as well. But for girls who are looking for their goddesses, this might be a good way to check it out. Oh, Rhiannon, yeah, Patini, Sri Lankan goddess of purity and fighter against injustice. We need more fighters against injustice. And we have Izanami, who's a Japanese goddess of death and new life. Just a few of the different ones we have here. So, yeah, can't wait for this one. It's coming out this fall. Look for it. Next up, we have Nube Ocho. So Nube Ocho, The Mouse Who Ate Books. This is by Jose Carlos Andres and Katharina Sieg. And we have here a mouse who just consumes all the stories and finds them extremely delicious. And he goes to the bookstore, and the bookseller, instead of being appalled, actually puts the mouse to work and has the mouse gathering people up for coming to story time. So he expands the audience for the bookstore, and this is available in Spanish. So Nube Ocho is based in Madrid, Spain, but the books they do for the U.S. market are all done in Latino Spanish, not Castilian Spanish. So just be aware of that. And the ones they originate, they do in English and Spanish, and then they are also doing Spanish language versions of some bestsellers from the U.S. market. So another one we have is A Big Book of Butts, or El Libro de los Traseros. This is nonfiction about the butt, nothing but the butts. And you find out not just human butts, but also different animal butts too. So, let's look at this. Did you know manatees can propel themselves through the water with their poop? It's true. So locomotive butts, dangerous butts, motorized butts, and also different ways people express themselves with their butts. The Big Book of Butts, so much information, science, language, art. There's a lot you can learn from looking at butts. And next up, we have a new graphic novel series available in both English and Spanish about Olivia Wolfe, who lives in Monstrosity, and she and her other supernatural friends, her vampires, and she's a werewolf, and all these little monsters, they go to school. Here you see them introduced. And they solve mysteries. In this case, their teacher goes missing, and the only clue is a moldy sandwich. So they have to find out what happens with him. And, it would have been okay except for those darn kids. And I love the fact that this is available both English and Spanish. There are not enough graphic novels available in Spanish, but they're very fun. They're great for the kids who just love those over-the-top adventures, a thrill on every page. It's also safe, spooky. It's not going to really scare them, but it does have a little, frisson in there of something scary happening. And then we have the giants. So yes, this is coming soon, and I think that kids will love it. Next up, I promised some things that are available in Spanish that were not beforehand, and this is Big Love in Spanish. So there you go. And this is diverse families, starting from very small family up to the whole world. So yay, Big Love. Then we have Deseo, which is, When a Family is Wishing for a New Baby by Matthew Cordell, is now available in Spanish, which is great. A new Chris Houghton book, Mama Pingüina, es la mejor. So perfect for this week since we just had Mother's Day. And they have a lot of the Chris Houghton books. They also did We Have a Plan, which in Spanish is Tenemos un plan. Very fun. And then I'm thrilled that they have the Elise Gravel El Rosa, El Azul y Tú. So this is a book about gender identity and gender equality, and done in this gorgeous graphic nonfiction format that she does so well. And I think it's it's really useful to have. So lastly, I have to show you Red Comet Press. So Red Comet Press is out of Brooklyn, and they do books from all over the world. This one originated in France, translated by Angus Killick. The Great Grrr. This will be a great one for story time. And so we have here the Monster Delivery Service, and he's got this little pink package to deliver. He rings the doorbell, so hopeful, and she doesn't come, and she still doesn't come, and he gets increasingly frustrated and angry, and before you know it, he's completely destroyed the door. It's reduced to smithereens, and she comes up and, oh, it's a present for my grandchildren for my 99th birthday. It just takes her a while to get to the door. So this is a story ultimately about family and friendship and frustration and ultimately forgiveness. So very, very fun. And that is a great Grrr. Next up, it's really cold outside. This is a really bird story. This is the fifth in the series of easy reader chapter books that are told in a graphic novel format. And really bird, has big emotions, big, big feelings, and has trouble just dealing with the things he wants, because when he wants them now. He wants them the way he wants them. So everybody else is playing outside in the snow, and he is just cold and a little bit miserable. And eventually he learns how to get along outside. So his friends are very kind and understand. So there are lots in this series. And what I really love is that is that we have 4 so far, and the kids just really love these books. I handed one of these to a kid not too long ago, and my husband was next to me, and the kid just picked it up and hugged it to him and walked away beaming, and my husband said, "That's really your favorite thing, isn't it?" And I said, "Yeah, it is. Sorry, honey. Yeah, I love you too, but that's my favorite thing." So this is the Really Bird series from Harriet Seifert, who has written 500 some odd books for kids. So yeah, she knows what she's doing. Next up, The Rescues Finding Home by Tommy Greenwald, Charlie Greenwald. They've written several easy chapter books and chapter books for kids. The illustrations are by Shiho Pate, who I think did just a beautiful job with these. These are about 2 rescue dogs. So if you have a reading to shelter dog program at your library, what a perfect book to share with them. And these 2 dogs meet in the shelter and they become friends there. And then guess what? They get adopted together and they go to the same family and they get to be friends there. So it's a book about new experiences and making friends and just, enjoying each other, enjoying your life together. So this is The Rescues Finding Home. Beautiful. Next up, Gustav and Henry. This is a series, the second in the series. The first one was Space Time Cake, and this is Tiny Ant Island. So for kids who love Narwhal and Jelly and Dogman and those kinds of books, this is perfect for them. These are a puppy and a pig who have lots of great adventures together. They are big, big friends, and they go on these wild, wacky things that are just kind of stretch your imagination, but also are just so much funny. And I love this kind of art that has the pop of color in there and just makes it even more fun to encounter. Fun fact, in Space Time Cake, there's a librarian. So it's a fun way to share a life for sure. So perfect for those kids who think that they don't like to read. But you know what? They will love this one. So there you have it. And lastly, from Red Comet, I'm thrilled to share with you 101 Ways to Read a Book. This is by Timothée de Fombelle, illustrated by Benjamin Shaw. And this is one that is not just for kids, it's for all ages. ALA has already started working on a poster featuring the art from this book, and I think you'll see why. These are all the different ways, all the different positions you can read a book in. So the classic is surprisingly rare. The innovator upends the norm. The romantic can weather any storm. So this is very entertaining and just fun to share. And I think again could be something that could be shared each day. A different illustration, a different image. So much fun. So yeah, the specialist digs in. Look at that. You know that kid who comes up to the circulation desk with a huge stack of books all on one specific topic. And this is 101 Ways to Read a Book. So perfect for book lovers everywhere. And I bet we have a few here. So please contact me, Ellen at publisherspotlight.com. Follow us at Pub Spotlight. And these are just a few of the publishers we work with. Who else do we work with? Well, this is who we work with. So if you follow us on those things, you're going to see books from all these different publishers. And we have people here from, as I said, Spain and Czech Republic, but also Ireland, New Zealand, Australia. We have books from India, Japan, Italy, France, Brazil, just looking around here, Hong Kong. So many cool things from all over Switzerland. I could go on and on. So check them all out. And thank you so much for spending some time with me today and letting me tell you all about some amazing books that are coming out this summer and fall that are worth your time and your all your patrons' times too, your customers, your little ones. So thanks so much and happy reading.